Hi guys, Cinema Suitcase here, Logan and Kevin, and today we're going to be talking about the mega horror franchise that is synonymous with everybody, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 30th, Part 1.
Part 1, yes, the original 1980.
My favorite.
1980 film. We just thought that, if we're ever going to do Friday, we are going to do more Friday the 13th movies in the future. That is a definite. It's just that we thought that, why don't we just start with the very first film, 1980, the classic.
Yep, that's me. I like to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Even though I think this is kind of the lesser watched, one of the lesser watched films in the franchise. I think in the fan base. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think also for the things about it, start spoilers, guys. If you haven't seen the movie, just we're going to be talking spoilers. Most Friday the 13th movies don't really have spoilers, but I feel this is the kind of the one that you don't want to spoil. This is kind of the one you don't want to spoil the story.
Yeah. Because
we find out in this one that they have a whole murder mystery going on throughout the film. Like, who is it? Who actually is this killer? Is it Jason? Is it actually this kid come back to life, whatever? But you find out it's actually just Jason's mother. I think that's mainly why people watch a lot of the other ones. Like, a lot of people I know kind of start from like Friday the 13th Part 3 and they kind of go over from there. Because that's kind of when they knew what they wanted to do with the series, and then they knew that, and Jason had like his full hockey mask, and they kind of went every way that it was supposed to be.
That's when Jason's Pokemon evolved to the max level, level 3. That's sort of when the franchise, I think, started gaining momentum in terms of pop culture recognition.
Remember, he still has his final form, Jason X.
Yeah, Jason X.
That's his platinum edition form.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we could talk, let's go through some
statistics.
Just some critic stats here. So, Friday the 13th was directed by Sean S. Cunningham. Now, interesting thing about Sean S. Cunningham is
that name.
Yeah, he only directed the original first Friday the 13th, but he has been a producer on almost all of them. Like, he was a producer on a lot of the sequels. On Jason X, he was a producer on the Friday the 13th reboot from 2009, which is very good. And yeah, he's pretty much been like a mainstay of the franchise, even though he's only directed one of them. But yeah, no, Sean S. Cunningham did that.
I think he has a huge love for the concept.
Yeah,
maybe slashers in general.
Yeah. Then for writers, we got Victor Miller, written by, and then we have Ron Kurz with a Z, as an uncredited mention. Original music by Harry Manfredi.
I know Freedy is a common pronunciation. How do you spell it?
It's Man, Fredini. So Fredini.
Oh, okay.
Manfredini. Manfredini. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry for butchering this, guys, as always. Film editing by Bill Freda. And cinematography by Barry Abrams.
That guy, he deserves a shout out.
But he does deserve a shout out, yeah. So yeah, well, why don't we start with our first experiences of the franchise? Do you want to go first?
Sure. Just give me a moment to think. I'll admit that I never watched slashers. I knew that the characters existed. I mean, they're that popular. It's hard to not know them, at least by visual recognition.
Yeah.
And Friday the 13th, I got into it quite late, but Jason is my favorite slasher. And what made me get into that, coming back to Mortal Kombat, is MKX. He's a guest character.
Yeah, and then previously, before that, in MK9, Freddy Krueger was a DLC character.
Yep, and Kratos on the PS3 edition.
Yeah, a lot of guest characters. Because for slashers, the first MK9 they had Freddy, and then for MKX they had Jason and Leatherface. So the Texas Chainsaw franchise.
Makes sense. So around the time of getting MKX, I got it in 2019. It was also It Chapter 2 that was released, which had a sort of horror vibe. And it was on my mind. And the thing is, Pennywise is considered one of the great, 90s slashers. I don't even know if he really is a slasher, but I'm talking about the original.
I don't think he's really considered a slasher.
No, he's not.
Part of the Stephen King book universe, but he is definitely, but he is a horror villain.
Yeah, he's definitely
iconic horror villain.
Exactly. He's sort of grouped in together with the slashers from back in the day. Yeah. So, once I was surrounded by all this sort of pop culture relevance, I said, no, I'm going to get into Friday the 13th. And I watched the first, I've seen 1 and 2. I haven't gotten to the others yet, but still.
The other ones are very good.
I know it gets better, but I like to start at the beginning, hence why we're doing number 1 first.
Yeah, no, I understand you.
So that's my history.
So yeah, my history of this franchise is a very long one. I've been a massive fan of the Friday the 13th franchise. I think out of all the horror movie franchises, because I know there's a lot of the kings, there's Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw was technically the first one. Then there was Michael Myers, who obviously is the great, Godfather, really, because he came after Leatherface, but he was kind of the one that popularized the slasher genre. And obviously, we've already done Candyman. The sophisticated slasher, and Freddy and all that type of stuff. But Jason was kind of always the one that I gravitated towards. I think Jason's kind of one of the more popular, more iconic ones. I think my fascination started back in the early 2000s when they released Freddy versus Jason.
I agree. I started with that.
Epic crossover. Obviously, I couldn't watch it when it came out because obviously I was too young to watch it. But that's kind of where my fascination with the franchise came. And I remember on DSTV, which for those of you who don't know, that's our South Africa's cable TV service. They used to have these Friday the 13th marathons going on, kind of like Anaconda with ETV. It was constantly, the movies were on rotation. So I watched a bunch of them, and I think the first one I watched was Part 7. Part 7's quite good. I have a lot of nostalgia for that one because that was my first real Friday the 13th film. I remember that was the one where Jason, where there's that psychic chick with the telepathic powers. She's sort of like Jean Grey from the X-Men. And then there's a one part where she uses her psychic abilities to crush Jason's mask. And his mask breaks. And then you see Jason's face. He's just fully zombified because obviously he's been killed. He's been killed 6 times now. So he's got a fully zombified face. And it was very iconic and very, it always stuck in my mind. So yeah, and then I have all the experience of this franchise. I haven't watched every single Jason Friday the 13th movie, but I've watched a good majority of them. I've watched most of the parts. I've seen Jason X. Freddy vs. Jason is a guilty pleasure for me. I love that movie. That's an awesome versus movie. I actually watched it earlier in the year. I was on Netflix, so I rewatched it, and it's just so awesome. So,
I like it as well. I've seen it.
That's definitely a movie we're gonna do. We need to do down the line. But
Jason. Then, I was rooting for Jason.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody was rooting for Jason. And Freddy's kind of just Freddy, you're creepy.
He's that uncle no one wants to associate with.
Yeah, exactly. But Jason, pretty awesome. And then I think I remember specifically when I watched this film because I think my parents already told me that it's Jason's mother. It's not actually Jason, but I still remember the twist really getting to me. I remember because
I think I'd join you with that because I went into it knowing Friday the 13th. He was everyone knows Jason, but I was quite shocked to find out it was actually his mom. I went in with sort of no spoilers. And it was quite a twist I didn't expect, especially considering the movies that preceded.
And sort of following on from our I'm not sure if this will come off. We'll make sure this comes after Lake Placid, but Lake Placid episode, Granny from the Hood.
Granny from the Hood.
Hashtag Granny from the Hood.
No, that's her when she was younger.
Yeah, but no, this is pretty awesome, and it's pretty interesting how they play out the twist. So, to give you guys a little basic rundown of the story, I mean, the Friday the 13th movies aren't very deep with story. It's a pretty basic setup. It's just basically, the story is really just there to set up characters for Jason to kill. Basically, to kill in gruesome and horrific ways. But basically, there's this camp called Camp Crystal Lake, which was a very popular camp in the 50s. And then when the scout leaders or whatever, the teenagers obviously were put in charge to look after the kids, they were obviously off, fooling around and not paying attention. And this one young disfigured boy named Jason, who was always picked on, he was I don't know how he got into the water. Actually, did they like throw him into the water?
Isn't that elaborated on in Freddy vs. Jason? They kind of bullied him because he was like deformed or maybe some sort of condition.
I think the kids threw him into the river, but they threw him into the lake. They threw him into the lake, and then he couldn't swim, and then he drowned and died. And obviously the mother went like psycho. Fully psycho, got ready for ready for the hood.
That was Granny during her college days when she was working out a career.
Yeah, and then it skips ahead to the year of 1980, where's this guy, as you referred to, the pedo stash guy.
Yeah, and he gives off that vibe. I know it was a like a normal look for back in the day, but today's day is kind of sus.
That's kind of sus. But yeah, Mr. Pedo Stash Man, he's basically
Mr. Pedo Stash Man. I didn't even click that that's not his name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but basically he's bought the camp and now he's basically setting it up for everything. He's already got a few scout teenagers were there working with him, just trying to get the camp ready. And then some more scout leaders arrive, and basically it's 2 weeks before the camp opens, and they're basically just setting everything up, so everything's ready.
It is quite run down. They have a lot to do.
Yeah, because I think it's been abandoned for a very long time. He's only bought the land actually recently, and now he wants to basically run this camp. He wants to reopen Camp Crystal Lake, and then that's pretty much the setup. And then we do sort of cut away to this one teenage girl she's been hired on to be the cook basically for the camp, and then she's basically trying to get there. She keeps hitchhiking rides from different people, and the townsfolk keep saying like, quit your job, don't go there, you don't go to Camp Crystal Lake and all that type of stuff. And then very interesting. But interesting how they do the POV shots, because the thing is, like, later when she end up getting picked up obviously by Jason's mother, they always show, whenever they show it from Jason's mother perspective, it's always a first person POV shot. And they're always like, you always see them looking into the camera, obviously looking at the
eyes of the killer. Yeah.
At the eyes of the killer, and they're always like, talking to them, and then like you never actually know who it is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But you sort of suspect that it must be someone that they don't feel threatened by, because whenever they do meet up with, encounter this person, they never they never look scared or frightened or anything. They always say, what are you doing here, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, you're right, actually. And I noticed it last night, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Because I think when just wanted to end off my point here.
No worries.
When I was watching this movie for the first time, I always found that cinematography to be very interesting. Like the fact that they went to like that first person view, and the fact that they just do such a good job of hiding who it actually is. And then like how you pointed out, when you do see like her hands or whatever, they look very manly. So it looks almost like you kind of assume that it's some guy.
Dude, yeah.
It's some dude or whatever.
Dude.
but then you find out that, oh no, it's actually just a sweet old lady.
Exactly. Well, nothing sweet about it. Yeah. That's how she got on the inside. Granny from the hood.
#Granny from the hood.
I want to say, I think it's kind of interesting how the one person that's warned about the camp, that chef lady that's constantly hitchhiking, she gets wrecked first. I thought that information would kind of be vital to some of the camp members' survival. She would tell them, like, no, there's something creepy going on here. Have your wits about you. She doesn't even make it to camp.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite an unusual...
she's the one person that's kind of killed outside of the camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was weird. Like, I mean, they had quite a build-up for it. Not a long one. But I think her introductory story was also to introduce that Ralph character, because they kind of set him up as the killer. Yeah,
the Ralph, for those who don't know, who haven't seen the movie, he's basically like this. He's like the town drunk, basically, but he's also kind of like this, like prophecy cult, like guru, weird type of guy. And he always goes like, don't go to Camp Crystal Lake. Jason is coming and whatever. And then later there's a part where they open up the pantry to get some food, and then he's like sitting in the pantry waiting for them, and he comes out and says, "Don't come to Camp Crystal Lake." It's
dude.
Like, what the heck?
And they keep bringing him up, like the cop and the guys in the pub, I think, mention him. He's always.
And when she gets a ride from the sorry to chuck you off.
That's cool.
But the truck driver, when she gets a high ride with him and they're walking over to his truck, Ralph sort of comes in and he kind of goes like, get out of here, whatever. Like he sort of pushes him away.
Yeah, it's true. They keep reminding you that, oh yeah, this guy actually exists, and he's clearly missing some vital part.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Like you said last night to me when we were watching it, like, because I was kind of going like, what is up with this guy? Then you kind of said to me that no, I think they kind of set him up.
they're setting him up.
They're setting him up and kind of making you think that he's probably the killer.
In the meantime, he actually isn't.
Yeah.
At all. I don't think you even really see him again after his
after the
pantry visit.
After the pantry visit, you don't see him. And then, then there's that little interesting thing you pointed out where they have the whole scene of the cop coming with the motorbike and like asking them like, hey, have you seen this Ralph car? And then when they do eventually find Ralph and he comes out of the thing, he goes to his bicycle that was like literally on the same road as the car.
Yeah.
Like, did the cop not notice the bicycle?
That's what I said. I was like, you telling me the cop didn't notice his bicycle on the same place he parked?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I mean, you could write it off as, I know, you think it's one of the kids' bicycles.
Yeah, of course.
No, but Ralph drives around that thing everywhere.
Dude, he's always on that bike.
Everybody on the town would know that that's his bicycle.
Yeah, that's the thing. I thought it was funny. Anyway, by all means, continue. I'm enjoying hearing your perspective.
Oh, yeah, but no, I wasn't going to really say much, just other than I just thought it was a very interesting way how they hid the fact that it's not Jason, and how they hid it in the build up to it. I think it was just done masterfully. I mean, the Friday the 13th movies are not complicated.
No,
they're not written with precision or written with like. It's not like there's some guy who has like a full plan of like where the story's going to go and everything. They were kind of making things up as they go along, but I think for this first movie, it's actually very clever. It's very well how they did it.
It is. They did it well. I think when they first wrote it, I mean, I stand under correction, but I don't think they had a supernatural element in mind. I think it was just a mom that lost her son and she lost her mind because of that.
They were just going to make it sort of like a serial killer type thing.
But then I think maybe when they saw other films were doing well, they sort of went into the second one like, all right, we're not going to do this granny anymore.
But I do think that they were kind of hinting that Jason was going to come, because remember at the end with the girl on the rowboat.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then like Jason's like, the deformed Jason, obviously dead, like corpse of him, like jumps out, like grabs her, and like pulls her into the water. So I think they were hinting that Jason is coming.
Yeah. That's hence why it's titled Part 1.
Yeah.
And then, Part 2 and 3 and all that.
Well, I think originally it was just called Friday the 13th. Obviously they didn't know if they're going to get a sequel, but I think they were kind of hinting that, we kind of want to go in this direction.
They were hoping for it because they sort of set it up. Aside from that final scene where she gets grabbed while she's on the boat, there's no supernatural element at all.
Yeah.
Up until then. It's only then do they sort of change direction completely when they attempted to set up a second one. And then I assume, they probably did clear a budget and then they continued down the supernatural route. Yeah.
Well, these movies came out like yearly. Like once a year there was a Friday the 13th movie, basically. But I think also because by this point, because this was 1980, so by this point, this was 2 years after Halloween came out. So obviously Halloween was very popular with a masked man obviously killing a bunch of teenagers. And then a few years before that, we had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which technically is the first slasher movie, but like I said before, Halloween is what like popularized it. But yeah, they had kind of masked man. That was kind of the idea behind it.
General premise.
So I think that's why they were kind of building up to. They were kind of setting up. Okay, if we get a sequel, we're gonna go down that route. And then probably once they got to like part 3, that's when they were thinking, okay, no, we need to make it more distinctive, because in the second part he's just got like a bag, like a potato sack over his head.
Yeah, Farmer Brown.
So they're basically just like, okay, no, we need to give him like what can we give him that like would make him like seem threatening. Then like the producers like his little kid's son walks past this hockey mask because he's about to go to hockey practice. It's like, hey dad, I'm going to hockey practice. Yeah.
And he's like,
whatever. And then like he looks at the boss and like, hey, he
come here.
Grabs the mask.
Yeah, maybe that's how it went down.
Yeah.
But his mask, especially the part 3 mask with the red, that one became iconic. Wait, hold on a sec. I'm gonna cut this, but I'll be right back. 1 second.
Okay.
You can feel free to talk if you want.
This happens a lot, people. Kevin goes off like, on some tangent that I'm sit here left with you guys ready to entertain, but I don't really have any ideas. I'm sitting here just talking to myself like Malcolm, what's his name? Malcolm from, Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park. Yeah, definitely. So what are you doing Friday night? No, I'm kidding.
Is it still recording? Oh yeah, it is. Here we go, guys. I'm going to shamelessly plug my mom and her art. And Jason.
Your mom is a super talented artist.
She is, eh? And she drew this for me because I asked for it, and I haven't kept it in my room yet because I want to get it laminated. But it's definitely something relevant to today's episode.
And it was just cool set dressing to have.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's...
Sorry, I was really excited. I wanted to add this.
Yes, I know. So yeah, but no, it's a very cool addition. Like, thank you. I'm really glad that you brought this out to show us. But
yeah, no, my mom, she doesn't think she has the talent, but I think she's a phenomenal artist.
That is phenomenal art, man.
She doesn't have like guides or anything. She taught herself, and so because of that, she's very talented.
I understand from an artist's perspective. Like, you spend all that time working on a piece of art, and you just like, it's like your baby.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we continue?
Yeah, we shall continue. So, continuing. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to really say. Like, was there any points that you wanted to bring up? Well, what I mean, I don't have much more to say. I think just in terms of this movie. I do like the twist though. The granny. The twist is very good. And then and the reveal, and like when you first reveal it, like, the girl's running out of the house, and then she bumps into this old lady, and the old lady's like, she comes off as like so sweet and innocent.
Yeah, she's
like, where's this old granny just come from? Like,
dude, and the thing is, they make you think she came from somewhere because the car lights are on, like she just pulled up,
like she just pulled up or something.
And I'm like, Granny, you sus.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she's, the audience, I imagine the first time they watch it, they're like, oh, another human being, they can quickly escape or call the police or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, nah, it's fine. Then Granny goes frolicking, picking daisies or whatever. And she walks into that cabin. And obviously the one surviving lady is like, no, we got this, someone running around here, so we have to go. And she keeps brushing it off, and then eventually you find out, no, she's actually
the killer.
Yeah, I did not expect that.
And how every now and then she mimics, her voice changes to like Jason's voice, like, mommy.
Oh yeah, dude, that's so creepy.
It was very creepy. And then we actually brought that up. That was actually a very creepy moment, because there's that one part where after playing some strip poker.
Oh wait, do you think? Sorry, man. Do you think that the voice, like her interpreting Jason's voice, is not her being delusional? Do you think that can be argued as a supernatural element? Because then my previous statement was wrong, that no supernatural elements happened until the end scene.
It could be a supernatural element.
I think so.
It could be, because remember, it's only after Jason's mother died that Jason started coming and killing campers.
So maybe I think
from the grave, he was like, maybe she went and saw, like, I don't know, like one of those like mystic ball ladies or whatever. She went to see one of those ladies. And then the lady established some sort of connection with Jason, and
like
then
Bluetooth,
and the connection kind of just stayed there.
Maybe, because that's the thing. In that moment, you naturally, your brain searches for logic. All right, so you would assume she's like insane. You wouldn't think it's supernatural at that point. Yeah. By default, you'd just think she's lost her mind.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that can be argued that with context of the end scene in mind, if you've seen it, then you can interpret that as supernatural.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I actually didn't think about that.
Sorry, anyway, you were talking about strip poker.
Yes,
my favorite.
Strip poker. Well, actually not strip poker, strip Monopoly. The best kind of Monopoly.
Yeah. Yes.
But after strip Monopoly, with these teenagers, like, before, although I guess at the end of the day, it is more genuine, because nowadays, if they did a Friday the 13th movie, all the teenagers are sitting just like,
yeah,
and their phones
occasionally roll the dice.
Yeah, they wouldn't be doing anything, but yeah. So basically, so after strip poker, one of the girls gets into a raincoat, doesn't put her clothes back on, like just puts a raincoat on, naked, only in her underwear underneath, and then just goes out into the rain.
Dude, like that's the definition of damsel in distress.
Like, she's gonna get, like my sister would say, she's gonna get bronchitis or ammonia or whatever.
Oh, pneumonia, yeah.
Yeah, but whatever. so she goes back to her place, and she gets into like her nightgown, and then she's getting ready to go to bed, and then you keep hearing this like the sound of a child calling for help, and like it was very creepy. It's like it starts out
it's
very,
a child.
Well,
it can sound like a young woman.
No, I mean I don't know. To me, it sounded like a child.
It can be
like a young girl. And the thing is, and then I was actually thinking to myself, oh, that's probably Jason's mother. Because at first I thought, okay, that's weird. But then when her voice when you do eventually get the reveal of her, and her voice keeps changing between her and Jason, I was like, oh, so that's what she did. Because it's that was a very creepy scene.
Yeah, dude, it even threw me off. Like I kind of knew what was already going on, but then it was the sheer pause they had. They had like a minute pause of this lady like, I wonder what that was.
And then you keep hearing this.
You keep hearing it, and I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of creepy. Because the thing is that one consistent shot, she's not saying anything, obviously, because she's listening, and you just hear the rain, and then suddenly you feel in that environment. I would shit my pants if I heard someone out in the rain.
So yeah, like we were saying, she makes those childlike sounds, and that was like very creepy.
Dude, that actually made me edgy. I'm not gonna lie, it freaked me out.
Yeah, like really, like some really creepy horror, especially like the sound of a child's. You kind of go like, ooh. Children in horror movies are often the most scariest.
Dude, like Home Alone, that child is scary. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no. So other than that, not really, not else much really. Kevin Bacon's in the movie. His very first role when he was very young, and like he barely has any lines in the movie. He has like a few lines, and I think he's one of the first people. He's one of the first people to die. I think after Chef Lady, he's the next one to be killed.
It's that he's after the next dude, which is that really annoying.
Oh yeah, the freaking
jumpy
archer dude.
Oh god, he got wrecked. Thankfully, I thanked everyone for that.
Yeah, you hated him.
And then I did. And then Kevin Bacon and that other lady, the quick smash and dash.
Quick smash and dash.
And then she goes to the shower. She goes to that bathroom with that humongous window that I complained about.
Yeah. The bathroom
and he gets killed with like a sort of spear tip type thing through the neck.
Like through the neck, yeah. It's a pretty gruesome death.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say the kills in this movie are pretty good.
Yeah.
Even from the first movie, like the Friday the 13th had some really creative kills.
They even emphasize that in the game, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
You get some really cool kills.
Kills and finishes and everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, hey, that bathroom, dude, I can't get that camp out of my head. Like, that bathroom, the window to wall ratio must have almost been 1-to-1. And straight through the window, you could see the stalls. Yeah. And the thing is, Mr. Pedo Man, he probably put that window in after he bought the camp.
Yeah.
And it just disturbed me because, like, by law, you're not allowed to have security cameras in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not really a security camera. But my point is, it's still pretty public,
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Yeah, especially if the kids are like getting undressed, if they have to like get undressed into like their swimming trunks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up to code.
No, it really isn't. So I don't know. I think
it was maybe a weird location that they shot at, or maybe they built that thing.
Maybe he was kind of a creep because remember when that other lady is hanging that gutter.
Oh, yeah. She says she needs to go take care of things in California. And he says, like, give me until Friday.
Yeah, and I was Friday for what? To hang the gutter?
I think it's sort of implied that two of them had a relationship or something.
Yeah, that is the idea, or at least he was interested in pursuing one with her. I don't know if there was any sort of foundation before that, but...
Well, he says, give me another chance.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think he kind of blew it when he was like, oh, you're really pretty.
Yeah, so I don't know, so...
I don't know, it's just...
Well, I think also people didn't really think about it back then.
No, but...
Yeah, people didn't think about it as much back then, but obviously now the movie came out, people were like, ew, no, he's old and she's young, like that's creepy.
Mr. Pedo Stash,
Yeah,
as you called him.
Pedo Stash, man.
Pedo Stash, man. That sounds like the worst, not slogan, mascot ever.
Yeah, Pedo Stash.
Pedo Stash, man.
But yeah, no.
Anyway, I went off on a weird path.
Yeah.
I apologize, but bloody hell.
But no, other than that, no, not pretty much. This movie's got like a lot of creative kills, a lot of cool shots and everything. The one, yeah, the famous Panty scene, which actually I think I watched this movie before I watched Alien for the first time. So this is technically my first Hollywood, because back then, they'd love to put women in those underwear and type scenes or whatever, especially in horror movies. It's
it's a common trope.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah, no, not really much else to say. I mean, I guess also like the thing is, like I said to you before we started shooting, was that the thing I feel that like we would talk about more was kind of more the franchise as a whole. Obviously, we'll do episodes on later movies as we go on, but it's more. I think this episode, it's not really much about the first film itself. It's more about the legacy.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, especially for our October Horror Fest episodes. Like I feel like Friday the 13th, it's left this. It just has this massive legacy in film and in the horror genre.
And that's, I think, what we're talking about more of right now is how that film laid the groundwork for this legacy.
Yeah,
it's not really. I mean, in terms of material, there's not really a lot to overanalyze and study for Friday the 13th. It's one of those movies to make sure teenagers behave when they go out to the woods. That's what it's for.
Yeah,
and,
I remember seeing this one meme this one funny meme with Jason, where it was like Jason Voorhees making sure teenagers practice safe sex since 1980. Oh yeah, because that's basically what, and that's kind of the theme about. Well, also, I remember hearing a theory about that, was that that's kind of an interesting theme that the Friday the 13th movies play with, that the teenagers that have, everybody that goes and has unprotected sex and like does all of this like, unholy sex before marriage type of things, they're all the ones who die, whereas the virgins are always the ones who live throughout these
That's
films.
an interesting theory. I wonder if there's any relevance to that.
Yeah, because remember the blonde girl, the main girl that we follow, she was the one who didn't have any like sex or anything. So she's basically the one that lives. And then that's pretty much in every movie. The virgin is always the one that lives.
That's an interesting concept. As I said, I haven't seen enough of them to even remotely make that connection. But what you say makes sense. That's cool. Maybe that's the whole point of like why he's sort of demonic and possessed, or not possessed, but zombified.
Well, I think because remember it goes into his theme, because obviously when he was drowning in the lake, because the kids threw him in there, the scout leaders who were supposed to jump in and save him didn't save him because they were all like busy like having fun and everything. They were basically doing their thing, and because of that, Jason he always kills the ones that do that because he knows that like you left a little kid to die. So Jason's kind of got a bit of that morality complex stuff.
He's oh bloody hell, Steam.
Steam.
He has that grudge.
Yeah, he has that grudge.
People like that.
He has that revenge type thing.
Even if they're good people, they may be outside of the films. Maybe they're not bad people. They're just hormonal teenagers. So.
I mean, they're teenagers. So obviously, that's when they're at this camp or whatever in the middle of nowhere, no adults, no parents, no supervision. basically, that's,
apart from Pedo Stash Man.
He's not exactly kosher.
No, he's really sus. He seemed like the type to ask to join. He's like, hey man, can I watch? I'll be quiet.
He looks like one of those like cult leader type dudes.
Dude, really
That's Messiah. I think I'm Jesus.
With a staff.
With like smoking a bunch of weed and just having like all Jesus stuff.
Messiah.
He seems like one of those guys.
He really does. Oh
Yeah,
goodness.
no, very weird, but yeah, no. Other than that, the franchise has just been a massive thing for me. I've always been a fan of of Jason. I remember when the 2009 reboot came out. I couldn't obviously it was rated R, so I couldn't go watch it in cinema because I was too young at the time. And I remember I really wanted to watch that movie because I was such a big fan of the series. Then it never came onto DSTV, or at least like during that period, it never came on TV. So I always wanted to watch it. And then I remember one night, I think I went out with my friend. It was late at night. I think we went to watch the movie with my friends at the mall, and then we walked into this DVD shop because the DVD shop was still open, so we were looking at DVDs. And I saw the Friday the 13th 2009 movie DVD, and I snatched that DVD and I bought it so I could go home and watch it. And I really enjoyed the 2009 movie. The 2009 movie is very good.
I think the 2009 one is held in high regard. I think I may have seen that one.
Yeah, it's one of the few Hollywood movie reboots that fans actually do like. Because it is a solid reboot. Like obviously they don't do Jason's mother again. They go straight to Jason, but there is hints of like his mother and like that type of thing and all that, and they do allude to that and everything. It's very interesting. Like I remember in the film, I don't want to spoil it for you because you're obviously not sure if you've watched it or not. But yeah, it's an incredible reboot. I really enjoyed that. Movie. But yeah, otherwise, Jason's just been pretty awesome. I mean, he's an awesome character to play as an MK. Yeah, I remember my favorite because you get those different in MKX, you got the different variations, and my favorite variation was where when you beat him in a round, he like gets struck by lightning, he comes and he like gets up and he gets back up and you recover half your health and then you get like a second chance to win that fight. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's also this, I may be mixing it up with Terminator, I think I am, but he gets this buff where you can't knock him down. You can hit him, but he won't be physically stumble. It gives you such an advantage to counter almost immediately. Yeah. It's dangerous.
Yeah, Jason is like freaking hardcore.
He's a tank, dude.
I remember when I used to fight against him, he was freaking hard to beat.
Yeah, he doesn't, especially if he's in like a character tower and then he comes back to life and you only have a little bit of health left, you're like, oh, good. Jason, just die.
Because when it comes to the Mortal Kombat games, I mean, I do like the Mortal Kombat games, but I'm not like deep into the lore or anything.
I am. I want to do the movie that you don't seem to like.
Yeah, we definitely will do that at some point. But yeah, no, and I'm not really big into fighting games. I don't mind them. I don't hate them or anything. They're not my main genre. But whenever I buy a Mortal Kombat game, I always play with the guest characters. Those are like the ones that I'm interested in. And I remember when I got Mortal Kombat X, the first matchup. Okay, well, first I had Alien versus Predator. That's the main matchup. And the second one was Jason versus Leatherface. I wanted that fight. Although it's a missed opportunity that Freddy and Jason were in the same game together. That would have been so awesome if they were in the same game.
Yeah, maybe they'll come back for like Mortal Kombat 12.
I remember Freddy was pretty cool though to play with in Mortal Kombat MK9.
Me too. I have the complete edition on my Xbox.
Yeah, I have it on PS3.
Oh, there we go. You see, fellow geek.
Yeah, no, pretty good. And then some deep dives. Okay, I guess we'll do an episode maybe later down the line. But what's your opinion of Freddy vs. Jason? You enjoy that movie?
I really do.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's been so long since I've seen it.
I mean, it's not scary by any means. It's not really a horror movie. You kind of watch it. You're not really watching it for the horror. You're watching it for the
fight.
For the fight, and the fight between the two of them.
The final fight is awesome.
They have it's a pretty long, extended fight. Like they fight for like a while,
half an hour, 20 minutes.
For like it's not like Batman v Superman. It's like 9 minutes or whatever of a 3-hour movie. There's them fighting. Like no, it's a pretty long fight. They get like a whole bunch of like different moves. Like Freddy does a whole bunch of things to Jason. Jason's like a tank, so he just freaking like he takes it. And then, it's pretty awesome.
The only thing I don't like about Friday the 13th is that they're in that, like, lab or something like that.
No, Jason X.
No, it's in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, yeah, when they're in that lab
and then, or whatever. And then Freddy Krueger has that, like, projection of that, like, caterpillar worm thing or something.
Oh, yeah, he keeps morphing into those different creatures.
And I was just weird. Like...
Oh, and there was a stoner dude, and just like the stoner dude's like, "Whoa, man!"
Sod it.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's really creepy. Oh, it's not creepy, but it's.
Have you ever seen Jason X?
No, that's the one in space.
Yeah, that's the one in space.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I know I want to, but I haven't
that's
seen
a very interesting movie. At one point, Jason gets thrown into like he falls into this machine or whatever that turns organic material into machine or whatever, and he comes out as like cyborg Jason. He's like a robot cyborg version of him, and like it's pretty freaking cool. Like I remember a lot of people were saying that like with Friday, because they had all those different skins of Jason in Friday the 13th, and people were saying that they wanted the Jason X skin. But then the lawsuit happened, and now we're never going to get that, which sucks because a Jason X skin would have been cool.
Yeah, it is very cool.
I mean, it's a dumb movie. It's even dumber than Freddy vs. Jason. It's a very, very dumb movie. It's probably one of the worst in the franchise. But at the very least, you want that skin. Because that skin is cool.
It's cool. The one highlight for a lot of people, I guess.
Yeah. But no, Friday the 13th is just an iconic franchise.
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing that definitely has to be highlighted in terms of visual appeal is as you said, is the POV type shots for majority of the film. Before you realize who the character is, it's all first person.
Yeah, I know it was done very well. I remember
cool.
For me as a kid, like I think because like I said earlier, I alluded to it earlier. I think my parents did already tell me that no, it's not Jason, it's his mother, or whatever. Because I think they didn't want me to watch that one at first because they said that no, you're going to find it boring because it's not even Jason in the movie or whatever. But I remember still being even though that I may have already known that it was his mother, I remember being very captivated by those first-person.
It's a cool
POV
visual
shots.
choice.
It was very cool visual choice, and it just made me like second guess and say that who is this killer?
Who really is it? Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I think that execution choice was.
And I think and just the reason why I think we're harping on it a lot is that this franchise is very simple. It's not Citizen Kane. It's not the writing's pretty basic. Like we said, the teenagers are just. The cast of characters is literally just a body count for Jason people for Jason to kill in gruesome and ways. But for this first one, that was always the one aspect of it that really blew me away when I watched it for the first time.
Is that visual approach of the POV?
Yeah. And if I ever met someone who'd never seen the original Friday the 13th and they didn't know like who the killer was or whatever, I would watch it. I'd make them watch it and I wouldn't tell them anything. Because I can imagine, back in 1980, people were like, "Whoa!" It was probably a big thing because they were probably expecting some guy with a mask or whatever.
I think that is even more impactful now because of the fact that Jason is so well known. You expect him, so when it isn't him, that's even more mind blowing.
Yeah,
which is cool.
That's his mom. Yeah, but no, otherwise pretty cool. And then we get a bunch of Easter eggs for his iconic weapons.
The machete.
They obviously have the machete. And then the girl even uses the machete at the end and chops off Jason's mother's head with it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I had that Emperor Palpatine moment from Star Wars where it's just like ironic.
Ironic, yeah.
Yeah, because we know that's Jason's like main weapon.
His iconic weapon.
Yeah.
Other than the POV type shots, is there anything that you particularly want to reference?
Not much.
Nothing. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty much done with everything that I did like. I mean, like I said, the POV shots are very cool. The twist of it being Jason's mother's awesome. The kills are very gruesome. I really do like the kills in this movie, especially I think that's one thing slasher movie fans always look for. They always look for how are the kills? Because that's the one thing I've always liked about the slasher genre is that the kills are always so cool. They're always so creative and everything. So I like that. And then, like I said, I like that scene where Jason's mother lures out that one girl out of the cabin using Jason's voice. Like, it's so creepy. It's like a very creepy scene.
Very creepy. Okay, I just want to, another set of shots I really like it's scattered, throughout the movie, is when you're looking from the killer's perspective. It's you look from the outside of the cabin in. You can hear the rain all around, and it's just the soundscape. It distances you from the characters. Yeah, it's really unusual.
Got a very nice soundscape.
It's just because usually you'd expect if you're following a character, you'd see a lot of shots from within the cabin, but you see a lot of what they're doing from outside the cabin. Those kind of perspective shots are interesting.
Oh, and I guess one thing I really would like to bring up is the music.
Yeah, I wanted to as well.
The very famous, like I can't do it exactly with my voice, but
The Kiki Kaka.
you know, when you hear that theme, you know what's about to come.
Mhm.
That theme is like so iconic.
It is.
It's similar to, like, I know you haven't seen Halloween yet, but when we get to Halloween also has a very famous, very simple but very famous theme, and like that's stuck with the series. And I feel that's the same with Friday the 13th. That like kill. That like track is just so synonymous.
Yeah, it is.
I just love it.
It's internationally recognized.
Yeah, but I think the Friday the 13th, the whole franchise as a whole, they generally do that a lot with the movies. I'll just quickly end now. I was just gonna say that they do that a lot, where like when they show the scouts leaders or whatever in the cabins, they often don't show it from inside the cabin. They often show it from outside, and you sort of see it through the window because you can sort of see that Jason's watching them.
Exactly.
He's just playing out his next skill.
Pretty much, yeah. I think that's a nice approach. I wanted to say about the sound. They use that harsh violin, like when there's a specific track that plays, and it's a very, very jagged, harsh,
especially when
violin,
when they like slash throats.
And when someone's being chased, they have this really bombastic. It's not really bombastic is the word, but it's music that's off-putting. It makes you edgy and.
Yeah, I know.
I don't really know how to word it, but I hope you understand what I mean. It's
I understand what you mean.
Very good use of sound.
I mean, I've been watching these movies like for years, ever since I was a teenager. So I'm like, I love the Friday the 13th franchise.
Fair enough.
This franchise is just so iconic and everything. I mean, it's not like the Friday the 13th movie. They're not like my favorite horror movies or whatever. My favorite horror movie is by far The Shining, but Friday the 13th, it's definitely one of my favorite franchises in horror. Like, it's just so good. Like, yeah, and I do hope we eventually one day get a new Friday the 13th movie, because the problem with the series is that it's been in legal turmoil over who owns it or whatever for a very, very long time. And like different movies in the series are owned by different studios and that type of thing. So, yeah, but we did get a Blu-ray set recently. I think it was a 4K. No, it wasn't 4K. I think it was just Blu-ray. It was a Blu-ray box set recently of all the films. So I'm hoping that eventually we do get a Friday the 13th movie again.
I'm sure we will.
They probably can't. They probably have to reboot it again because they can't carry on where the 2009 one left off. But the 2009 one's a solid reboot. Solid Friday the 13th.
I look forward to it then.
Yeah.
Any takeaways if you don't have anything else to add for camera or music?
I guess just I mean, the thing is, it's sort of the same takeaway we take away from a lot of these movies, especially like with Candyman, is that like, you know, if you have a concept, if you approach it in a unique way, you'll be able to succeed, because they do take this like a very simple plot and they sort of approach it in a very unique, interesting way, and I think that's why
it's so
Friday the 13th
successful.
has been so synonymous with fans for such a long time.
True. That's a fair point. Yeah, just copy over from Candyman's discussion. I can accept that. I would say that too, but I'm not just going to repeat what you said.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think I really have any takeaways, other than their very less than subtle use of music that's intentionally distorted and warped to sound unusual.
Yeah.
And just the sort of killer looking in perspective. That's also a nice addition that isn't utilized much anymore. Yeah. From what I've seen.
Halloween sort of did something similar, because Halloween was started in 1978, so it was 2 years before Friday the 13th. But they also did very, very interesting type of cinematography. I mean, hint, we will possibly be doing an episode of that in the future. But when you and me watch it together, I think you're going to really, the cinematography is going to stand out to you as well, because they do some interesting things with it and everything.
Okay, I look forward to that.
Yeah,
definitely. Other than that, I don't think I really have much to say other than ratings, and I would recommend it. But
so the first one, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. But again, 8 out of 10, it's not really because, I mean, again, the story is not that great. The acting's not particularly amazing either or anything like that. It's just how they approached it, and it's just such an interesting movie. And again, that unique twist of it actually being this old lady, rather than it just being some big tall guy with a mask, it's actually like this old sweet old lady who, again, hashtag Granny from the Hood.
Granny from the Hood. This is no Scooby-Doo episode. Yeah. It's a proper killer this time.
Yeah.
So 8 out of 10 for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would stick with the same. I mean, with the grander scheme of things in mind, it's difficult to favor two later iterations of the film. It's like it's definitely good in its own way, but it definitely, as I said, it laid the groundwork for better things to come. So to go back to it sometimes can be a bit enduring.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a stamina test, and you get kind of sleepy. But it's still a brilliant film on its own, and I appreciate that. Despite having such minimalism and simplicity, their approach really blew it out the water, and so I'd stick with an 8 out of 10 too.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Definitely a solid recommend. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just enjoyment factor. Yeah,
but yeah,
it's a bit long.
Yeah, when we were thinking about episodes to do for our October Halloween fest. When you said Friday the 13th, I was like, oh yeah, we're getting to the big dogs now.
Yeah, no, well, Jason's my boy.
Yeah, Jason's all of our boys.
Yeah, so I had to start with him, of course.
But thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode as part of our October Horror Movie Fest. And yes,
buy my mom's merch.
Buy his mom's merch.
Yeah, she doesn't sell merch. It's just I wanted to say that.
Yeah, but no, but yeah, thanks very much, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're one of our podcast listeners, please leave us a review if you have any feedback. And thanks, guys.